So, hello, my name is Sim. Thank you so much for joining our Unlimited Access Female Voices series. We're so happy to have you on board.
Right.
Could you start off by giving us a little bit about yourself, just who you are, what you do?
Okay, thank you very much, Sim, for having me on and inviting me to talk with you today. That's really amazing. I really appreciate the invite. So who am I and what do I do? Sarah, obviously. I currently work for the Nigeria InterBank Settlement Systems. I work in the Business Development Directorate. Um, Here, and basically, I'm excited about newness and new things and innovation and business. I like the art of the deal. I love to create deals. So I'm right where I belong. I started my career in trading, trading financial instruments, that's bonds and money market instruments. And that was really my first introduction to NIBs, right? Because we had to settle our interbank transactions, with NIBs. Some of them we had to settle with NIBs at the time. And it was really a great way to understand the banking industry. So, because they say treasury, at the time I was in treasury is the heart of every bank. So I started really in the treasury department and I learned a whole lot. It was amazing. And then when I left banking, I found myself building teams and starting trading desks. I did that in two other organizations, set up their trading desks, and built up the team so that they were able to run on their own by the time that I left, which was also great because that gave me a lot of B2B experience. I used to say I'm a little bit of an introvert, but that kind of brought me out because I had to go out there, and get those customers to, trade with. So that's where I was next. And then with NIBS, when I joined NIBS, that was really challenging for me because it was new and it was different. But I had the most amazing bosses. And to be honest, they believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. And they pushed me. And it's been an amazing journey because I've had to learn so much. I've been able to unlearn things. I've become a better person, you know, just my career has blossomed. It's really been an incredible journey for me.
That's beautiful. Like, that's such a lovely way to summarize it. But I love to hear that you've always had people surrounding you. Well, maybe not always, but definitely you've had a good circle that have been
Mhm.
uplifting you. And I think that's so important because now, look, you've had this phenomenal journey that you're still on. You're still young, you're still beautiful, you're still thriving, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's really important. So just touching on that, actually, before we delve more into your actual career experience itself, looking a bit more widely at society as a whole, how do you think that people and organizations can work together to support combating gender inequality, be it in the workplace, especially in areas of the world where culturally women are discouraged from pursuing a passion or a career that they may have?
Um, so I think that for every organization, the senior leadership is responsible for creating that culture that promotes diversity, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, they're responsible for doing it. And I know that a number of organizations have started to put in policies, to actually promote that, but it's also on the leadership to actually make sure that those policies are actual practices that that the organizations follow. I think also that it's important for leadership and management, and basically by the time you build it into the culture, you want to show, intentionally seek people to show, like, whether the voice of every team member can be heard. You want to make sure that everyone deserves, anyone who is what's the word, anyone who this is deserving has a seat at the table. You want to make sure that that happens regardless of your gender. Um, in certain situations, I think that there are different things that one can do. In certain situations, there are specific careers that where women you don't find women, prominent. I think that there are ways that organizations can promote women to become part of that. Create a scholarship or things like that. Um, and to be honest, different genders require different things, all right? And there has to be that balance to create the environment for those genders to for gender, regardless of whether you're women or not, right? For you to feel comfortable and feel welcome. One of the things that you could do is also have extended maternity leave, right? That's something that's great. You can also have paternity leave, right? Think things as simple as that. Work from home, have flexible working times where it's, I can work from home. I have, a time slot that I can work with because that's most convenient for me. I mean, COVID showed us that we can be productive regardless of whether we're in the office or out of the office, right? So I think post COVID, we have that, flexibility within the organization. I had an experience where in one of the organizations I worked in, they sponsored you to take certain certifications, you know, and so that because it benefited the organization, but if you took that exam and you passed it, then they'd pay you for the examination that you took, which was great, right? So those are certain things that organizations can do to encourage people to, you know, to come up, and especially the female gender.
I think that's great. Definitely, I agree with so much of what you're saying that organizations now are taking the time and investing in to their employees, not necessarily just girls and women, but as a whole, which is incredible to make it a more inclusive environment, which is what we're trying to achieve, even just by doing this series. It's just about promoting voices that wouldn't necessarily be heard all of the time. And I
Mhm.
think we've made so much progress, but
We
there's
have.
still a very long way to go before everybody is walking on fair and equal ground.
Hmm.
So if young girls and women within Africa, particularly, or other culturally dominated countries, including India as well, were to ask how they themselves can uplift their skill set, be it through training, education, and uplift each other so that they can have a successful career, what sort of advice do you think would be beneficial for them?
The first thing I'd say is you've got to believe that you can. It first comes from you. You have to believe it. I said during my introduction that I had people around me who believed in me even when I didn't. It's great to have to be surrounded by such people, but you have to believe in that you can. There are times for me when I feel this task is so big, and I say to myself, the way we say it in Nigeria is the people that are doing it don't have two heads, so I can do it. You encourage yourself to to actually push, because we can. We're limited by our thinking. So that's the very first thing that I would say, everyone should have that belief in the ability to do. Secondly, I would say that there's no excuse for not learning. I mean, Google is your friend, you know. Um, Take courses, they're online courses. They've made learning has become so much more easy. You don't need to go to a classroom. You can learn so much on the internet. Take your time to take those courses. Um, Read a book, read books, surround yourself by people who are smarter than you. Surround yourself. I mean, that has always helped me out, because you know what? You can't do everything by yourself. You don't know everything. And if you surround yourself with people who know better than you, the chances are that have the opportunity to ask the right questions and get the answers. And there's no stupid question. Allow yourself to be stupid the first time. Not know, but allow yourself to not know. It's okay to not know, right? And then when you find an opportunity to ask a question, ask or Google, research things that you don't know. So you'll be surprised about at how much you get to know just because you're inquisitive enough to ask, right? So I think learning is very important. Surround yourself by people, and of course, get to find a mentor. It helps. It really does. I was mentored by beautiful women, um, amazing people in my life who have helped me up. You know, so yeah, it's great if you find people like that who can also help you up. Seek them out, find them, do the work, and hold
Yeah,
these tight limits. Yeah.
that's beautiful. You have such an eloquent way of putting it as well, which is so lovely. And it's great to hear someone sort of just reinforce for people that it is important to do a lot of that learning yourself, so you are provided that opportunity. Because yes, of course, the way the world works, we need those opportunities to be provided, but
Mhm.
we have to also be ready
For those
to step into
opportunities,
them.
definitely.
So I think that that's perfect. And someone that, like you mentioned about building upon your confidence, your role, for instance, is very front facing and customer facing. Like you said, you love and thrive to seal that deal, which is amazing. But you have to have a certain level of confidence that must take you there.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm sure you have moments as well where you don't always feel super confident.
Mhm.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
all do. We all do. So that's lovely. Thank you. And just touching a bit upon that sort of confidence element, there's often this perception that women often need to assert a certain level of dominance to be taken seriously at any hierarchical level or position. Building upon their confidence, could you sort of give our viewers some advice on how to professionally assert themselves in their, like, to find their presence in a room, no matter who they're surrounded by, whether it's senior member, whether it's a customer, because I think you would have great insight with such a front-facing role.
Okay, great question. First of all, I like to say that everyone, male or female, needs to assert a certain level of confidence, not necessarily dominance, but confidence in doing anything, right? What is wrong is when that confidence comes out and it's perceived, especially by women, as aggression, right? That's the bias that we actually need to break. Um, but expressing your opinions, it's okay. You should express your opinions, and and people should embrace the opinions of various people because it all makes us better. One of the things I say though is for you to first of all understand who you are, understand the audience that you have. It's very important to understand the audience you're speaking to, whether it be senior management, whether you're speaking to your peers, whether you're speaking to a customer. You need to understand who you're speaking to, how best it communicates, whatever it is that you're trying to communicates with them. Um, so you can't just, you have to do some research in terms of who you're speaking to understand them. You have to know yourself. The way that Sim is going to approach a situation is totally different from the way that I would approach it. We can achieve the same results, right? But we will achieve it in different ways. So my way might be different from yours. So know your strength and play to your strength. It's very important to know yourself, in expressing yourself. Um, so those major things: know your audience, know yourself in any interaction that you have, and please feel confident, be confident. And, you know, nobody should feel threatened by your competence. It's important that you're competent too. You don't, you know, some people, you know, you don't want to be confidently ignorant. You want to be confidently competent. So, yes, so it's important that you have that competence and you continue to build on yourself, right? But, you know, the fact that a woman is confident doesn't mean that she's dominant, you know, and doesn't mean that she's aggressive. It just means that she's confident and she has opinions and she can speak them.
That's I couldn't agree more. That's spot on. Like a lot of the time, it's not necessarily an air of arrogance or disrespect. It's just people now, like you said, they're using free platforms, Google, and they're surrounding themselves by people of all different backgrounds and they're absorbing as much as they can.
Mhm,
And we're becoming more and more intelligent as an entire species, like
mhm,
as people, irrespective of where they're from. So yeah, that's perfect. Um, Continuing from there, how you were speaking about sort of like learning, basically, that's one great way to build your confidence. There are many ways.
mhm.
Sometimes some people would like to stand in front of a mirror, some people will push themselves and do video interviews, Sarah. But I think the idea of learning is always something that we should all be doing, and you summarize that perfectly. Um, and for women, girls, even men, but where there is so much change in society, there's continual regulation changes, as I'm sure you see with the banks and
Mhm.
competitors and new technologies coming in, and it could, all this like, and building upon your own self-development, it can feel like a crazy spin. So do you have any advice on how girls and women can prepare themselves and help stay organized? How have you done it? Or like some top tips to get where you have?
Well, we've already talked about the fact that you need to learn and you need to keep up some way or another. And I've always said, surround yourself by smart people. Your network is important, right? The people you surround yourself with would either make you grow or bring you down. You can't always be the smartest person in the room, so make sure you find other people that are smarter than you so that you can improve in yourself. It can be overwhelming. We must take care of our mental health. We must. It's very important because with the level of change and how fast paced everything is, it's important to catch up, but at the same time pace ourselves, right? And you know, we can't do everything, so collaborate. It's very important to collaborate with other people um, to get things that we can't get done. It's amazing how, you know, one person can do something and it can take so much time and effort, and then you can bring like a few people in and then it happens, you know, like magic. Collaboration is key. You don't let you just don't carry the weight on yourself. And women tend to do that. They want to do, you know, I can do it. You know, you can't all do everything. So find people who can help you. Um, uh, you know, and like I said, I keep saying this, I keep saying it because it's so important. The world is changing. Bring yourself up to speed, learn, read a book, have a podcast. One of the things that I do on my way to work is that I'm listening to a book. If you live in Lagos, there's lots of traffic. So, you know, 1 hour of traffic allows you to, you know, get some knowledge in your head. So I'm listening to a book as I'm driving, you know. I'm listening to a podcast as I'm driving of things that are relevant to my field and things that are not. So you expand your mind. Um, expand your mind. There's so much. It's amazing how you expand your mind and you find even more things and you're more innovative. Your mind is alive, right? So yeah, it's you have to learn, but you have to pace yourself and you have to keep your mental health. You need to be careful about your mental health because with how overwhelming the world is, it's so easy, you know, to get overwhelmed, right? So we need to pace ourselves around that. Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's really important, especially the fact that you touched on mental health. I think a lot of the time people can get so caught up in trying to prove themselves and
Mm-hmm.
improve themselves that I think sometimes mental health gets left on the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wonderful that you've sort of highlighted that point, because I think it is so very important. There's no point trying to build this confidence if
Mm-hmm.
then you're burnt out because you won't
Mm-hmm.
have any
Exactly.
creativity or ability to learn. So absolutely. Um, and just in a continuation on the idea of providing advice and tips, what tips can you give to thrive as a woman in business development, which was once a really male-dominated role? Like you're doing spectacularly, and I'm sure that many of us would love to hear how you've done it and what you've seen from other women.
So, thank you. um, Key thing, focus on delivering value. You must always focus on delivering value. You can't take it for granted. You don't walk to a customer and sell a product. You sell value. You bring them value all the time. It's important to be a solution provider. So find solutions for your customers. Um, I've been in situations and I've had to learn through this, not to shove products at my customers because they just don't want to hear another product. They probably have like 1 million, but they want to know the value that that product brings to them. They want to see you helping them solve their problems. So as you're delivering value, you're being a solution provider. Very key things. One of the things that maybe you would hear um, about my teams or the people that I work with, that they know that when it gets to us, that they'll find a solution. They're always certain that when they get to us, they'll find a solution, which is, what, I try to build with my teams, and my teams are very conscious about, let's deliver the value, let's solve their problem. And in solving their problem, you're able to, present the services that you have, because we have services to solve their problem. And of course, like I said, you can't do it alone. Find people to collaborate with, teams within your organization, teams outside of your organization. Find ways to collaborate to provide value, of course, to the customer. And, of course, be generous with giving credit to the people who have helped you get the results. No man is an island. You don't get it by yourself. You don't do everything by yourself. Remember to say thank you. Remember to say you did a great job. I couldn't have made it without you. Give the credit where it's due.
Yeah, that's beautiful, especially because it's all about uplifting each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that reassets that confidence that we're all trying to find
Mm-hmm.
in whatever it is that we love. So
Yeah.
definitely, I think that's really important. And it sounds like in the same way that we are trying to build confidence in ourselves, and that's the whole one of the points of our series that you are kindly partaking in, is also it sounds like you're providing that same sort of confidence into customers,
Mm-hmm.
why they should take that confidence in you, which I guess
Yeah.
all the more important that you then have that confidence in yourself.
It's so important. Just believe in yourself. Just believe that you can believe. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, which actually brings us nicely on to our last question for today, which is there's so much changing in Africa, particularly with fintech as well. We see it all the time that there's a lot of digital growth heading into the continent. What innovations are you most excited to see that will revolutionize either Nigeria or the continent as a whole for consumers?
Um, there's just so much going on in my head. My head is bursting with all sorts of things. But one of the things that I think we'll see in Nigeria and in Africa, would see a lot of contactless payments. In the payment space, we would see that, whether it's QR, whether it's contactless cards, we'll see that growth in 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 Africa. I think because it's a convenient way to make any payments anyway. I think that our identity management would improve, right? Because for every transaction that you have, you need to have some sort of identity. right? And with both payments and the identity, that's what you need, because for every payment you need to authorize yourself or you need to authenticate yourself. So having a way to identify yourself and authorize your transactions in, we would find that people would innovate around that. There's a lot going on already, but you were saying that a lot of people, there'll be a lot of innovation around that. I also see with PAPS on board now, we will see a lot of trans-African trade, and innovation is going to come from there. It's amazing what that will do for Africa. The amount of innovation and how we're going to learn from each other, because someone's doing something, we're going to pick up innovations from different countries around Africa because we're now trading with each other and we need to make it seamless. I think that that's going to be great. And with all of these things happening, we're going to see data increase. So it means that with data, we can have more predictive and prescriptive analysis. With the data, we're going to see a lot more artificial intelligence, which is going to improve the way that the customers are going to interact with our services and our products. Basically we'll find ways of improving that customer experience with whatever it is that we're putting in front of the customer, whatever service we're bringing to the customer, because we have data and we're able to predict and we're able to, infuse artificial intelligence into it. The world is, the world is on steroids. It's going crazy and it's exciting. It actually is exciting to see what all of that would do, because Nigeria and Africa is virgin land, and there is so much to be done. So I'm excited for the future. There's too much. There's so much to see.
Definitely. And I being in fintech as well, like I'm so excited to see how the world is going to change, and it already is.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most lovely things listening to you just there was it was so clear how passionate you are about it all. And I think that's what is really important, that everyone finds something that they are that passionate about. So that was lovely to hear. Thank
Thank you, Sam.
Of course, thank you so much. This basically summarizes our time together, but we are so grateful that you joined us.
Thank you.
It's been more than a pleasure speaking with you. You genuinely, you're so wise and you've done so well for yourself. So congratulations, and
Thank you, Sam.
you're a lovely soul as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate that.